Yo, what's up? It's J2O, FOREX King, out here for another weekly Forex forecast for July 26th to the 31st. Man, let's see what's popping for the last week of July, man. Let's look at this Forex calendar at the forexfactory.com/calendar. That's where you get to see what's happening for the week in the Forex market. So let's start off with like Sunday. Not really anything going on for the JPY pairs. Yellow folder stands for low impact expected. Then we got Monday. Not really too much going on. May have some like medium impact, but overall Monday, nothing too much going on. Then we get into Tuesday, man. So expect to see movements during the Asian session, man. High impact expected. We see some news events for the Australian dollar, AUD. So check that out. And then we get to Wednesday, and then we see some news impact during like New York session. You got the pending home sales, all FX USD pairs, FOMC, man. Be careful for that, man. It's very volatile, so pay attention to that. And that's Wednesday, man. FOMC is like crazy news events. There might be some like crazy wick action with the price stop hunts with currency pairs. So be careful for that with stop hunts. And then we get a Thursday. We see Euro, German, prelim GDP, Q and Q. And then we got USD, advanced GDP, Q/Q, the New York session. And then we end the week with Friday, man. And then there's news for the Canadian dollar, GDP, M/M. So it's high impact during like New York session. Overall, the day definitely watch out for is Wednesday, especially if you're swing trading, holding a trade, because FOMC, man, could stop you out. Especially if you're scalping, like you could get stopped out. So be careful Wednesday trading. So now let's get into the charts, man. Let's look at Bitcoin first, man. So as you can see, here's a 4-hour chart, man. Bitcoin is just been on the uptrend this past few days and over the weekend. Right now, let's go to the daily chart. Let's see what's happening on the daily. So right now, Bitcoin is going up. I see it potentially coming down this week, but we'll see, It all depends on the structure. So we can see it right now. The candle went up. It wicked down. So we can see a potential still rise and then come back down. Test the area, come back down. So these are potential moves for the week. Obviously, each candle represents a day. So we can see it potentially do a continuation up to test the area of resistance before it comes back down. And if it breaks this area of support, we can see it come back down. Maybe retest or come back down. So it all depends on support and resistance. So let's go into US 30, man, 4-hour chart. So US 30 has been on a downtrend ending last week. So based on the coronavirus, things could happen. So let's go to the whole daily chart, see what we think is going to happen for this week. So right now, obviously, it's a bearish market right now. But if we analyze a little better, we can see it potentially come back down, maybe test the area of this trend line, this uptrend trend line, and reject and come up for the week. Or we can see it clearly come back down and break this trend line and come back down and play around the strong area of resistance. That is a possibility if it breaks this trend line and uses this area as resistance. So we'll see. Where the market could potentially shoot back up before it comes back down and tested this area of support. It could reject up from the area of support or break and come down. So pay attention. So now let's get into gold, man. So gold's been on a crazy uptrend, man. A lot of crazy things happening with gold. Last week, it was a straight uptrend all day long. So it was a great swing pair because it broke from this area. It had this area over here of consolidation, and it like broke this area. So when it broke, it just went skyrocket up to like the 1900s. So the question is, when would it come down? So let's go to the weekly chart real quick. Let's go to monthly actually. So right now we're like creating new highs since what, September 2011 or whatever. September 2011, 2001. Oh man, so we're creating new highs, man. So right now, since it basically broke above this like wick area and closed out, I do potentially see a continuation to the upside. I do see it potentially going like this, continue going up. And if it does come down, it'll come down and test this area of resistance, this area of, support, this area of support, this area of support if it comes down. But right now, I do see it potentially continue going up as of now. So summertime is usually a great swing month for gold to hold trades for days or weeks because we're on a crazy uptrend, man. And now for AUD USD, oh man, let's go to the daily chart. So last week it went up the first couple days and then started to drop down. So for this week, I see it potentially coming back down to test this area of support on this trend line and reject back up to the upside. But if it breaks this area, we can see it potentially come back down. We see it reject and come back down. But it all depends on support and resistance. So it all depends. Let me zoom in a little bit. So it all depends around this area who respects it or not. If it breaks this area, right now we're going down. But right now, they're using this area as a support, so we can see it come back up. But overall, it is pretty, on the daily chart, it's pretty much an uptrend on the daily chart. Right now, it's like a slight correction. So now let's get into USD JPY. So this is a daily chart. As you can see, it finally broke down, man. It's been like consolidating here for a minute, for a couple of days, and finally broke down to this area, testing this area of support. So I do see it potentially continue going down, but you could potentially see it potentially come back up here. You can see it potentially come back up here before it comes back down. So just pay attention to that. We could target here for this week the 102.245 area potentially, but we'll see how things play out with news and all that. And now let's get to the GBP pairs, man. GBP JPY. So this pair's been kind of funny this week a little bit, this past week. So let's go to the daily chart. Oh man. So Right now, we're still in an uptrend on the daily chart. As you can see, once it hit, it rejected up here last week, came back down and went back up. So for this week to come, I see it either rejecting back down and coming straight back up to test this potential previous high. That is a possibility for it to eventually get there. It could take a couple of days. As you can see, it took a couple of days to do all this. So we could take a couple of days to do this if we're going by patterns. But it's FOMC, man, so you never know, man. This week, FOMC could push the market to weird directions. But right now, I do see it potentially coming up before it comes back down. And now, last but not least, GBP USD. So this was a little different pattern, straight uptrend, the 4-hour chart. Saw a little bit and pushed up last week. Let's go to the daily chart, see what's good. So if we look at the previous trend line, if it breaks this trend line, expect to see it continuation to upside. But if it rejects off the trend line, expect it to potentially come down to this trend line to reject back up. So it could vary depending on how it respects this trend line here, this area of resistance, and this area of support. If it breaks it, we're going up still. Or it could just finally come back down, test this area before going back up, or it breaks this area, we know we're going down. So those are the plays for this week to come. So pay attention, share what you see, know what you think, and like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. And that is the weekly forecast for this week coming up. Let's get it.